Episode 1. There is a prestigious school with an educational environment suitable for nurturing the seeds of the future. Briefly, the school creates maximum conditions for students to develop their talents and their own strengths. And yet you, the son of a talented actress, so pathetic compared to the general standard that he is always looked down upon by everyone? Yu's mother is a famous A-list actress worldwide, accompanied by innate talents that few can match. Today, just because the three emperors want to know what talent Yu has, they sent someone to call him out for a match. He always wants to escape his mother's giant shadow, so he put all his heart into this battle. Despite his admirable spirit, his strikes are too weak, no different from a mosquito-biting stainless steel. Feeling insulted, the martial arts classmate got angry and swatted Yu away like a rag. The whole school saw this and just exclaimed in shock, "This guy is truly untalented." Traditionally, people always think that the son of a genius must also be a genius. Ignoring the meaningless expectations, Yu smirked and said, "The more mediocre one is, the more they cling to talent in an extremely difficult-to-handle posture." That guy frowned and scolded him for not being qualified to act cool, "You mediocre person." Yu calmly stood up and replied, "I was close and saw the talent most clearly. I'm not boasting." Finally, he happily said thank you and asked permission to go home first. Suddenly, the bald guy came over and reminded him that the three emperors placed a lot of hope in him. Don't let him off so easily. The vice captain heard this and reluctantly beat him up until the male lead revealed his talent before stopping, as he raised his hand prepared to strike. He was suddenly kicked in the head by a girl who ran over. She then stood and scolded the subordinate for making things difficult for others. Under the lights, the other two people stepped out one by one, making everyone in the gym fall head over heels. First is Miwa, the girl who passed all subjects in the entrance exam and holds the title of the youngest in shogi. Next is Kazuki, famous musical star who is rising like a kite in the wind. Finally, Nico, an undefeated martial arts champion who has never known the taste of defeat. Together, they're hailed by the whole school as the three emperors, the sovereigns, dominating the entire school. Although their appearance looks quite sharp, all three are girls, which confuses you. To be honest, we're extremely disappointed to find out the male lead is a mediocre, untalented person. He knows there is no place here for him to show off, so he prepared an application for the basic program. But the problem is that they seemingly know nothing about it, so they can't show off. Just as he was about to slip away, Nico naturally forced him to stay behind to clean the dojo. No matter what he said, she didn't listen, because whoever loses here cleans. Having said that, the three of them left sarcastically, hurting Yu's dignity. As evening fell, Nico and her subordinates were impressed to see the gym shining flawlessly. From a young age, Yu has been expected by many people, so he always strives to live up to them. However, once when seeing his mother's monologue under the magical moonlight, he realized he was just an ordinary person. Instead of giving up, the young man tried his hand at other subjects, but none was decent. Gradually, he began to develop an inferiority complex, so he naturally distanced himself from his mother, even though she was his only relative. Ironically, the next time the mother and son met was in the hospital. During that time, you noticed she often watched family movies where she played the lead role. Both mother and son liked it because every episode ended with a scene of the family gathering around the dinner table. Thanks to that conversation, he realized she always wanted to have a home, just like in that movie. After all, mother only hoped you would have a happy family to be satisfied, although mother is no longer in this world. He remains optimistic and tries to pursue that goal, the thing that he and his mother missed out on. After arriving, you use the spare key to open the villa's door according to the rich uncle's instructions. Entering the living room, the young man looked back and forth and wondered who that mysterious rich uncle was. Just as he put his luggage down, Nico suddenly ran over and swung a kick across his face, making Yu slip and roll several times. He turned pale and quickly stood up to explain that he wasn't a thief. Talk slowly, despite realizing this was the untalented guy from this morning. Nico was still wary and asked what he was doing here. Suddenly, it was her turn to slip and fall on her butt, making Yu laugh and call her clumsy genius. Having said that, he wrapped a towel to dry her hair, while the girl kept shouting. Only when you said preventing a cold is a part of martial arts did Nico obediently stand still for him to wipe. In the middle of doing it, the girl suddenly pushed his hand away and hurriedly ran away when she heard voices. Seeing someone in the living room, Kazuki grabbed his shoulder and interrogated what he was doing in their house. As the situation became increasingly awkward, Yu suddenly received a call from the rich uncle. Because Yu's late mother was his benefactor, he decided to let the male lead stay at his place. Besides, he didn't forget to introduce that his house has 3 stubborn daughters. So please look after them for him. All this time. Yu has always tried to fulfill his mother's wish, but he never thought one day he would become family with 3 genius sisters. Everyone thinks living with the school's beauties is better than being a king, but the truth is quite the opposite. All 3 were clearly annoyed, not expecting their father to accept a failure into their house. He knows they don't like him, but he still wants to fulfill his mother's will. He was determined, hoping they could live in harmony. But no one bothered to pay attention. While putting away the luggage, he accidentally picked up a strange object, but it was snatched by Kazuki with supersonic speed. Having been busy talking, you forgot to notice that this house was as messy as a pigsty, making the 3 sisters sweat profusely. Kazuki shirked responsibility, using the excuse of being too busy to have time for housework. Actually, she accidentally broke a few things, so she got discouraged and gave up halfway, and was publicly exposed by her 2 younger sisters. The eldest sister was bitter and turned to point at Miwa for neglecting to do the laundry. She embarrassedly said she didn't remember how to do laundry, yet she could play shogi so well. She even wrote notes on her hand. It seems she really is forgetful. Not lying, realizing their reputation was about to hit rock bottom. The 3 sisters swarmed in to insult the untalented guy, but he didn't really care much. After finishing the insults, the 3 were stunned to realize their house was as clean as the gym. The more they looked, the more they found this untalented guy strangely charming. So the 3 sisters held an emergency meeting. They thought they had successfully gained favor, but unexpectedly the group still saw him as a useless person with a good interface. The next morning, you turned off the alarm, intending to sleep in a bit more, when he suddenly heard a loud noise. Running downstairs to check, he found Nico practicing martial arts frantically at 7 a.m. Miwa was both playing shogi and swearing, while the eldest sister was mixing a very suspicious mixture. Seeing his curiosity, Kazuki explained, "This is our morning routine." However, instead of brushing teeth and rinsing mouth like normal people, geniuses have their own way. Yu expressed his desire for the whole family to have breakfast together, but he was rejected straightforwardly by the eldest sister. Miwa ate snacks, gulped soft drinks, and focused on the match, looking so tense that he didn't dare to call out. Standing in the kitchen, you remembered back then his mother also often focused on work, without bothering to have breakfast with him. Later, he also discovered she cooked many portions for herself in the fridge. The male lead sadly sat eating breakfast alone, just as the second sister finished practicing, seeing Nico craving so much that she drooled. You kindly invited her to eat together, but she absolutely refused. So he intentionally invited her persistently to see if this girl could endure it. Looking at the provocative face, Nico reluctantly explained, "I don't want to eat because it doesn't meet the full nutrients I need. It's true that hearing too much gives a headache, but she always follows a strict diet to maintain the best condition." Looking at the lifestyle of the 3 sisters, you could only sigh and wonder why they were so much like his mother. Geniuses can be very self-satisfied and blind to everything else, but that's because they have motivation. It was also for that reason that you stopped talking to his mother and then moved away from her. Seeing all 3 rushing out, he hurriedly chased after them and asked if they forgot anything. Sounding like a thunderbolt, the 3 sisters hurriedly searched and checked, then breathed a sigh of relief and replied they hadn't forgotten anything. You took a deep breath and wished the whole family to take care, making all 3 fall back thinking something serious happened. After splitting up, Nico accidentally saw a flushed face through the car window and couldn't believe she was this happy. On the other side, the 2 sisters also had indescribable feelings when someone said goodbye. Returning to the kitchen, you called to report the incident to the rich uncle after a breakfast that was beyond messy. Due to the nature of his work, he very rarely comes home. So the father asked you to help the 3 daughters overcome the obstacles that geniuses will encounter. But it seems you forgot that I am just an ordinary person. Episode 2, soon, the 3 daughters will face extremely thorny obstacles. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for the father to bond with them more. So the rich uncle trusted and asked you to handle this. Honestly, he wasn't sure if they really needed his help either. In sports and academics, Yu is only at a low average level. So he helps the 3 sisters with belief, thinking that at some point all 3 might simultaneously fail to overcome obstacles. Everyone would be very disappointed. Yu understands very well how painful the feeling of being turned away is. Even a mediocre person like him feels discouraged, so how could geniuses like them endure it? Casting aside his worries, you took his bicycle to the supermarket to buy ingredients to cook a meal for the whole family. Just home, Nico's heart suddenly skipped a beat, almost forgetting this guy was living here. Seeing you attentively tasting the broth, she felt it was so charming. Realizing the opponent intended to bribe her with food, the second sister immediately refused because she had already bought food before. Finishing her words, Nico went straight to the bathroom to wash up and then carefully took care of her hair and skin properly. Returning to the kitchen, the girl shouted out, not expecting that guy to be playing with fire. Furthermore, that mediocre guy also consulted a whole pile of cookbooks. Was he crazy? Seeing Miwa home, you cheerfully called, "Wait a moment, you two. I'm almost finished cooking." Nico was clearly annoyed, not understanding why that guy wanted to get attention so much. Since childhood, the three sisters had refused to eat expensive dishes for various reasons, because she always conceived that her body must be controlled by herself. Having said that, she was sick of chewing bread, so she secretly stepped into the kitchen to take a quick peek in front of Nico. It was a balanced meal for an athlete that you had cooked with his whole life. Finishing listing full nutrients for her, he sat, slumped, and asked if she was satisfied. Nico didn't expect that he had put all his heart into just cooking dishes specifically for her. That made her feel moved. Well, just try a little. There's no harm. The stubborn second sister picked up each piece to eat, while also sending thanks to the person who created the recipe. You smirked as if he had just tamed a lovely stray cat, making Nico swear at him. The youngest sister stood peeking, drooling, intending to step down for a bite, only to be caught red-handed by the male lead. Afraid of being scolded, Miwa reluctantly sat down to try a bit, although she didn't say it. Nico was a little jealous, knowing he also made a separate menu for the younger sister. Not having eaten together for a long time, Miwa saw the second sister looking chubbier than usual. As for her, she was confident that no matter how much food she stuffed, the fat would go all to her first curve. Seeing the two sisters sitting, chatting, and eating together, you felt extremely satisfied. Just then, the eldest sister came home and saw her two younger sisters eating together, making her face turn pale. Just waiting for that. You immediately threw out 2 trump cards containing all the nutrients Kazuki needed. Thinking the plan would successfully succeed, unexpectedly, she left with a sarcastic voice. Nico angrily blamed the eldest sister for being a bit harsh, but she seemingly didn't care. Kazuki admitted she didn't like this heartwarming scene at all, especially when it was cooked by an anonymous hand, making you stiffen. Fearing his efforts would be wasted, Nico immediately grabbed the portion and said, "That arrogant emperor doesn't deserve to eat this," just taking a spoon ready to put in her mouth. Suddenly, the young man showed a murderous aura warning, "If you eat with this mood, you'll get fat," when she stopped her hand. You softened again, saying he managed Nico's body very carefully, making the girl misunderstand about some naughty things. Sitting in class, the male lead showed boredom because 3 days had passed, and Kazuki still hadn't touched the food he cooked. Recognizing the situation was not good, he immediately stood up to go find her. In the hallway, countless female students crowded around Kazuki without a gap. Famous people are indeed different. You tried stepping out, waving to start a conversation, only to be kicked away ruthlessly by the eldest sister. The grandson didn't give in and plucked up all his courage to confess. "I've been tossing and turning all night to make the thing you like," making the fans shocked. In her confusion, Kazuki accidentally said, "I'll settle the score with you later," unintentionally pushing everything further. You gave up and turned to ask Nico for help, while the karate team surrounded her a lot. Seeing the young man waving at her, the second sister became even more cranky after yesterday's misunderstanding, before the subordinates could kick him away. They were scared by Nico's ghost god murderous aura to the point of almost wetting their pants. Seeing his life threatened, you immediately retreated and ran to the youngest sister for help. While playing cheese, Miwa noticed her friends were struggling with math problems, so she provided the answers. Yet they went to the canteen because of low self-esteem, as they were not as good as the emperor's toenail, just as you passed by. He cheerfully ran into the class, saw her sitting lonely, completely opposite to at home. Immediately you came over to invite her for lunch, but he was shouted at by the youngest sister to go away. Having said that, the girl left the class intending to find somewhere quiet, but that guy kept following. After running around the school for a while, both decided to rest at a nearby bench because of exhaustion. Here Miwa bitterly admitted, "I am one of the emperors who is too different from my friends, so I can't integrate. How could a mediocre guy like you understand?" You confidently boasted, "I am also a low-status emperor. The only thing I inherited from my mother is this feminine appearance." The more he talked, the angrier she became because he always spoke moralistically while knowing nothing himself. Having said that, Miwa chuckled and said he was truly a fool. Knowing you was trying to befriend the eldest sister, she agreed to help a hand. She vaguely remembered that when Kazuki was young, she once secretly asked her mother to cook a separate menu for her, looking very happy. A clue from when the eldest sister was only 3 years old, yet this girl remembers it very well. Returning home, he plunged into the kitchen, wondering what dish his mother used to cook for her. Seeing Kazuki enter, the young man was about to ask for an opinion when suddenly the eldest sister collapsed on the floor. That night, the two sisters went up to her room to feel her forehead, but it was burning hot. Nico intended to use force to make her lie down to rest when you entered with a bowl of hot porridge full of nutrients. Kazuki stubbornly kicked everyone out, forbidding anyone from entering. Taking this opportunity, you cooked a bunch of dishes to offer, but was rejected by the eldest sister. Unable to endure any longer, he entered the room regardless, letting her scold whatever she wanted. Kazuki struggled to stand up to get some water to cool her fever when she suddenly slipped and fell on her younger brother. You gave in and agreed to go get food supplements for her. Before leaving, he expressed his desire to be Kazuki's co-actor because, after all, he is the son of a star actress. Hearing him say he started his career at age 2, the eldest sister was shocked. She had to be 6 years old to get a role, so she had to consider this brat a senior. Scanning the script once, you eagerly tried playing the prince with a stiff voice. Immediately kicked out by Kazuki, it turns out he only knows how to rely on parents. No wonder everyone keeps calling the kid a failure. So the next day, the young man continued to come play the prince, and the result was being kicked out again. Over the next few days, the situation didn't improve much, even making Kazuki hate him even more. Unlike the inferior name, from the start, she was hailed as a genius bestowed with everything. To live up to their expectations, the girl always strives her best to avoid the 2 words failure. As night fell, Kazuki intended to go for a stroll when she discovered her younger brother sitting and learning how to act. She couldn't stop wondering why he was so hardworking, but his level didn't improve even a bit. Although still a bit annoyed, she also partially recognized Yu's efforts. The next day, the eldest sister refrained from kicking the kid out because anyway he had tried hard. Kazuki opened her heart and accepted to hold hands, then was startled to realize this guy's acting had just improved a bit. Recognized by the elder sister, you burst into happiness. I did it, mother. The eldest sister was speechless, not knowing why this child was so touched just because of one line. Although he was a fool, she felt jealous of that. Kazuki cast aside all doubts and agreed to eat the food you cooked on the condition she requested. She hesitantly tucked into the blanket and embarrassedly told the younger brother, "Please don't put vegetables in the food." He was disappointed. Criticizing the eldest sister for being like a picky child, yet making such a fuss. Episode 3. Early morning, the two sisters were shocked to see the eldest sister finally eating Yu's food. The male lead was delighted and whispered in her ear, revealing he actually added pureed carrots, making Kazuki jump up as if having a seizure. Sitting at the table, you felt proud of himself after taming the 3 stubborn but also extremely lovely cats. Before leaving, the 3 sisters told him not to cook tonight because each was busy with their own work. Yu reassured himself that he was already used to this. Previously, there was a time his mother also didn't come home for a whole month, but because of that, both gradually grew apart. Currently, Yu is trying to help the uncle's 3 daughters overcome challenges. Along with that, he is also trying to build a happy home as his mother wished. The problem is the son seemingly knows nothing about a happy family. To understand better, you rewatch the movies his mother had acted in. Every time he rewatches them, he bursts into tears at the scene of the family gathering warmly together. That night, when reaching the segment where his mother wore a wedding dress, you suddenly felt a sense of conflict. Compared to the TV series filled with fragrance, the reality is much harsher, mother. Just then, the 3 sisters came home and saw the inferior guy wiping tears while watching the TV program. Kazuki thought that he probably really missed his mother. So he sat rewatching the movie she starred in. The eldest sister felt pity and came over to comfort. From now on, you don't need to try to work to win our affection anymore. The 2 younger sisters also agreed, hoping he would reduce work from now on, but unexpectedly, Yu strongly objected. I ran away from mother when I knew the mother and son were too different. However, when I realized things weren't that simple, it was already too late, so I want to bond with everyone and together create a happy family. The 3 sisters felt that was ridiculous. Thinking he was too immersed in movies, Nico was wondering how they could become a family, just as the TV showed the bride and groom in the chapel. And they slowly gave each other a kiss. All three watched attentively for a while and suddenly realized Yu's intention was to marry to build a home. The three sisters blushed and simultaneously screamed because they had never thought about wearing a wedding dress and getting into a wedding car. All three lied to themselves, saying they wouldn't marry this anonymous guy even if they died. But the more they thought, the more awkward they became. Suddenly, Yu seriously asked Nico's birthday to determine if she was his sister or younger sister. Since both are the same age, the young man was curious to see whose status was higher. Ah, so family is like this. The three sisters heard this, and their veins bulged, scolding him as a parasite, and then left angrily. Soaking in the hot tub, Nico was both angry and daydreaming about that short guy. While pining, she suddenly heard a sharp scream and ran to the kitchen to see what happened, thinking it was something serious. It turned out he was sitting sobbing because he forgot to buy bread for tomorrow. While complaining, he suddenly noticed Nico only had a towel wrapped around her when she came out, making the second sister embarrassed and quickly run away. Just then, Miwa entered and saw this scene, asking why her sister's face was so red. She awkwardly replied she was just a bit lightheaded because of the hot water, even though she had only bathed for 5 minutes. The youngest sister thought it was illogical because the first time she met him, her sister was never embarrassed about such trivial matters, seeing the older brother bringing a bunch of towels. Miwa happily came over to receive them and accidentally lightly touched his hand, making the body temperature soar. The younger sister instinctively let go and got angry, forcing him to bend down and fold them, truly making trouble without reason. Caught by the second sister, the little one quickly covered her face and explained it wasn't what she thought. Nico accidentally asked if there was a time she also secretly liked him, and then stood motionless like a statue. Kazuki entered the kitchen and saw the younger sisters arguing, so she also gave up being grown up, yet just like children. Asked by Yu, she turned her face and came over to put the pot on the shelf. Waiting for her to finish, he repeatedly thanked her very much, making Kazuki's heart melt. Oh wait, what was that expression for, old lady? Fearing a misunderstanding, all three rushed in to explain the previous action. Seeing the whole family in discord, Yu stepped out to mediate, not understanding why they were arguing again. The three sisters heard this and returned to their rooms to let the young man clean up alone. Yu crankily tried to endure cleaning up the pigsty, and at the same time felt very happy when everyone was willing to sit down and have a meal together. While cleaning, he accidentally picked up a photo of the three sisters taken together and had to exclaim how cute it was. When they were small, everyone was cute, like angels. But he didn't understand why when grown up they were so tough. Why, you wondered who had forgotten the photo here. So he went to ask each person one by one, but they all refused to accept it. After a while of reasoning, he believed that among the three sisters there was one liar. Surely this person was wishing to go back to that time, so they kept the photo until now. The next morning, the three sisters announced they would be away from home this weekend for different reasons, making Yu depressed all day. While scrolling his phone, he suddenly discovered they were competing in the same area, so it could be said the time had come. That night, the male lead made hot milk to invite the three sisters to drink to sleep easily and announced, "I've booked rooms for everyone." He thoughtfully gave a map to the hotel, along with contact information. He guaranteed the hotel quality was very good. But Miwa showed boredom, not wanting to eat terrible food there for 2 days. "If you say that, does it mean you miss my food?" Looking at the youngest sister's confusion, two older sisters breathed a sigh of relief, almost accidentally saying similar words. On the day of the qualifying round, Miwa, with a serious face, only took 1 second to counterattack directly into the opponent's psychology. Once caught in her style, the opponent considered themselves losing. In the afternoon, the sister in the organizing committee advised the girl to be careful, because tomorrow's opponent is a 4th-rank player. On the way back, Miwa accidentally saw cherry blossom petals blowing in the wind and felt nostalgic about a time past. Even so, she smiled and accepted that the day the three sisters went together was out of reach. Entering the hotel, the younger sister suddenly discovered the eldest sister was doing check-in procedures. Both came over intending to ask for the truth, when Nico suddenly dropped her bag and wondered why the two were here. While the three sisters were still bewildered, Yu suddenly stepped out and criticized, "You are sisters, yet don't know where the others will go? NUCCKHNGCTI, Gion Noichai, NVI now? THT, THNH, TLAC-AM, EIGNI." Trapped by all three asking, he smiled and explained that everyone was in the same area, so he arranged for them to stay together. "And I am here as your festival guide tonight." Hidden behind that naive smile, You had planned to help the three sisters recall that old memory once again. Unexpectedly, Alba scowled and scolded him incessantly, saying they didn't have extra time for those events. The male lead knew they would refuse, so he set up a backup plan, inviting the three sisters to pray at a famous temple. Nico bluntly refused, because she always believed luck is created by the training process. Relying on ancestors' help is very hit dash or dash miss. In response, you flip through the magazine, saying that famous players from all over the world visited that temple at least once. There's nothing wrong if you value self-training, but there is also a kind of confidence born from that faith. Besides, you won't be able to fully develop your abilities if you can't relax, so resting is very important. Suggested famous delicious dishes by you. Kazuki admitted the younger brother was very right. The eldest sister agreed to release stress, but in return the two younger sisters must wear proper clothes if they wanted to go with her. Luckily, you had anticipated this, so he led all three to a rental shop. Seeing the three famous sisters enter the shop, the owner thought this was just a dream. Standing before the sparkling aura, the woman promised to find the best kimonos for all three. Not unexpectedly, Kazuki looked very suitable in a traditional black outfit. Meanwhile, Miwa brought a modern classic feel with a cat motif very suitable for her personality. As for Nico, she sat stubbornly not wanting to wear it with the reason of not liking kimono. The little one told you to just leave her alone. She didn't suit these clothes. Hearing that, the shop owner suggested an outfit with a masculine touch suitable for a strong personality like her. The truth is that, as a child, Nico really liked feminine dresses but was forced by her mother to wear tight pants because you were a tomboy. When seeing you bring in the pink kimono, the two sisters immediately said it didn't suit Nico. The male lead insisted it was very suitable for her small figure. After a while of considering, Nico decided to choose one of the two sets to try. Waiting a little longer, the whole group was extremely surprised to see Nico's completely different look. From a tomboy girl suddenly turning into a graceful beauty that the whole shop couldn't believe their eyes. Episode 4. Just arriving at the festival, you suddenly discovered the eldest sister was already surrounded by fans. Honestly, he wanted Kazuki to enjoy the event together with her two younger sisters, but had to endure. What else could he do? Every time standing before fans, you had to admit her professional style. However, because of that, Kazuki could only look at her two younger sisters from afar with sad eyes. The two younger ones thought she liked being worshipped, so they didn't care much and invited each other to play goldfish catching. In the crowd, there was a girl who didn't like Kazuki, because no matter how handsome she was still a girl. Turning away, suddenly the sandal strap broke, making the little ones stumble. Luckily, Kazuki was there in time to pick the girl up and devotedly inquire. People around saw it and could only wish they were also picked up like a princess. Meanwhile, he followed and suddenly discovered unusual signs behind that radiant face. Waiting for her to finish talking to fans, he suddenly reached out and pulled the eldest sister into a bush to hide away. The younger brother signaled the eldest sister to keep quiet and smiled, bringing food and telling her to enjoy the festival too. Besides, he noticed her walking posture seemed unusual, so he brought bandages. Insulted as a disgusting stalker made the younger brother feel slighted since, "I've already done it. I'll finish it," making Kazuki stunned. Seeing the swollen foot behind the sock layer, you couldn't believe she carried someone in this condition. He wondered why she always liked to show off instead of asking someone for help. Kazuki criticized the younger brother as a fool. There is no prince who is ever rescued by someone else. He found it unreasonable. If you want, you can also be a princess, discarding the prince image. Kazuki closed her eyes and put her foot on his lap to ask for help. Being personally taken care of by Yu's hand, she thought she'd secretly like this kid. Meanwhile, Nico failed completely, not catching any fish, then was laughed at by the youngest sister. Seeing you return, both almost had their hearts jump out when seeing the eldest sister wearing a funny mask to hide from fans. Kazuki was forced to wear a mask to go partying with the two younger ones. Miwa saw it and told her to just wear it. Every time she's with them, her sister is always grumpy, right? Although not answering, Kazuki felt happy to be with the little ones. Having been happy for a while, suddenly all three turned to argue because the youngest sister's net never broke. Miwa stuck out her tongue, teasing the two older sisters for being so amateurish. Not knowing the skill problem was no different from a market. While they were playing together, you took the chance to run and participate in the annual event. The competition rules were extremely simple. Just cross the pond on these lotus leaves to be blessed by the gods. Not to mention, the winner would also take a photo with the golden guardian deity of the temple, bringing the three sisters' photo with him. He told himself he must win at any cost. I will bring the guardian deity back for them to reenact that scene like in the photo. However, this game was not easy at all, because there were hundreds of leaves around. So how could anyone find which one wouldn't sink? Seeing a bunch of contestants taking turns jumping into the pond to bathe, the two grandsons of the temple keeper couldn't stop laughing. For 10 years, no one had one except for those three genius sisters. Along with determination, the male lead confidently rushed straight into the pond like many other contestants. Gradually, people began to get discouraged and give up. Only you remained trying to find the way. Other contestants advised him to give up. This game is like gacha, very risky and not easy to swallow. Even so, you still continued to stand up and participate in the challenge even though the rain started to fall heavily. The two grandsons were afraid the kid would fail, so they would let him take a photo. However, you still wouldn't give up his determination to solve the puzzle to the end. With the current situation, he guessed Miwa had shown the way by having the second sister carry her to the finish line, while Kazuki just followed the two little ones to complete the challenge without breaking a sweat. If the three sisters can do it, I can also do it. In the last trial, you saw and jumped on the brighter colored lotus leaves. Before the witness of the two grandsons, the young man finally reached the finish line with effort. Before taking the photo, you asked permission to run and find the three sisters. However, due to bad weather, everyone had closed shop and left long ago. Slumped under the rain, he blamed himself for being useless. Just that, and I couldn't do it. Suddenly dragged them here, and then left alone. Surely they have returned to the hotel now. I wanted the three sisters to be closer, yet unintentionally pushed them further apart. Surely I am only good at making trouble and can't do anything else. While in a daze, the three sisters suddenly appeared and asked him what he was doing to be so dirty. All three didn't leave for the hotel simply because you volunteered as the guide, so he had the responsibility to take them back. When going to buy anything, they had sold out. So the three sisters shyly asked him at the same time if he wanted to share an umbrella with them. Yu's eyes widened and he smiled, saying they all spoke at once so he couldn't hear. All three heard that and turned to blame each other. Truly, the sister bond is questionable. Rarely did the sisters have a chance to bathe together, but Nico kept thinking about the previous matter. While arguing, all three decided to play rock, paper, scissors. The loser would have to share an umbrella with the untalented one. So after a while of roundabout, he was forced to go with Nico before two jealous eyes. At that time, she couldn't understand why her heart beat so strangely fast. Returning to the tub, the little one pressed her chest, wondering what that feeling was, making the other two bewildered. Thinking the little one probably wanted to become a real woman, but how could an orange compete with a pomelo? After they finished bathing, you wished everyone luck and prepared to leave. Asked and found out this clumsy guy forgot to book a room for himself, so he planned to go to an internet cafe to sleep. Seeing the poor younger brother, Kazuki felt pity and told you to spread the mattress to sleep on the floor. Honestly, the sisters wouldn't be heartless enough to leave a sick stray cat in the pouring rain. Knowing they had good intentions, you hoped the whole family wouldn't need to be too formal when going to get towels. He almost bumped into the eldest sister's soul because the room was a bit narrow. Kazuki looked away and said they had put on all their clothes and had no more sets. Miwa heard this and crawled to the floor, saying hotels usually have some spare sets in the closet. The young man curiously looked over, making the little sister confused, not knowing where to find. Nico also opened the closet to look, but because she was short, she couldn't see the set on the shelf. Seeing this, you came over and reached up to take it, accidentally pressing close, making the little one blush. Waiting for him to enter the bathroom, the three sisters acknowledged this room was too dangerous when containing 4 people. You stood in the room and told all 3 to just ignore him and rest comfortably. Comfortably by faith. As night fell, the 3 sisters were restless and couldn't sleep for some reason. All 3 lied to themselves that it was probably because of tomorrow's important event, then self-rationalized it. Meanwhile, you smirked after getting the photo of the 3 sisters. At that time, everyone's face was tense and wouldn't cooperate, yet just a clumsy moment of the male, led accidentally bumping into a tree, made them laugh. Luckily at that time, he quickly took the photo, or he would have missed the precious moment. The male lead reached in, intending to take it out to look again, but couldn't find the photo anywhere. While searching, he accidentally found a note sent by the anonymous master thief, thinking at least it had returned to the right owner's hands. So you felt at peace and tucked into the blanket to sleep too, seeing the grandson sleeping soundly. The 3 sisters couldn't believe this Kia was this carefree. Nico curiously asked the two why they weren't asleep yet, but was scolded back by both and got angry. Lying on the bed, Kazuki was a bit jealous seeing you chose the floral kimono the younger sister once liked. On the other side, Nico also hadn't seen her sister's enjoying face for a long time. Miwa pretended to be an adult, but she was actually the most enthusiastic one. Thinking back when they were small, the sisters were free to go to stalls without fear of being bothered. The youngest sister was always proud of her 100% accuracy without knowing Kazuki stood behind supporting. All three acknowledged it had been a long time since the sisters had a chance to talk like this. Although living in the same house, they each focused on their own work. If it weren't for that short guy, probably the sisters wouldn't be this harmonious. Miwa completely agreed and secretly turned on her phone to look at the photo taken with her two sisters. Just because of this photo he had tried every way, truly so foolish. Although not saying directly, all three felt happy and secretly thanked you. A few days later, the male lead didn't expect that night they partied. So hard but still achieved such brilliant success that the whole country reported it. Actually, before that, after you left, Kazuki planned to post on social media to wait for fans to help find him. But her description was too general, so how could people identify him? Teased by her two younger sisters, the eldest sister showed off that you had a sincere smile that they probably wouldn't know. Miwa was unconvinced, saying she knew everything about him. He always made snacks for her while the other two ate too strictly, so how could they know? Nico jumped into the battle and accidentally said he was very thoughtful and caring towards her. Finally, the whole family embarrassedly looked at each other and decided to go find him themselves. Truly messy. Episode 5. Since returning home, you noticed the three sisters seemed closer to each other than before. Thinking back, he had promised to cook something delicious to celebrate their return home. So after school hours, the young man stopped by the store to buy a lot of food to treat the three sisters. Just returning home, you suddenly discovered a strange pair of shoes for men. Entering the living room, he saw the three sisters standing, presenting themselves before a strange uncle. Only when he turned around and smiled to greet the grandson, did you realize this uncle was the three sisters? Father. The male lead politely thanked him for letting him stay here with a hospitable attitude. Regarding Yu's mother, the uncle was very sorry for what she had encountered. However, as long as you continue to hone it, your mother's talent will not disappear. You smiled awkwardly to pass the subject and wondered why the three sisters were so tense. Returning to the main topic, Kazuki affirmed that her popularity was still as high as ever. Miwa is stepping further in the tournament while Nico is still undefeated. After hearing the report, the father intended to go straight home, but suddenly the grandson invited him to stay for dinner. Seeing him pick up the mask and ask, you immediately boasted that they had gone to the festival the other day. While excitedly telling about that trip, suddenly the father covered the mask and asked why he was so free. Furthermore, he even took his daughter to pray to the gods. Didn't you find it redundant? Women are always weak even when they have talent, so he raised his daughters to be strong and decisive like men. He approached and kept. Wondering why the talented actress's son hadn't achieved anything yet, then he crushed the mask and coldly asked if he was just an ordinary person. The uncle put his hand on his shoulder, saying this house doesn't harbor useless people, making Yu's face change completely. About to kick the kid out, suddenly the three sisters jumped in to intervene, saying he was the reason for them to wholeheartedly hone their talents. The father heard this and asked if they needed him that much, making the three sisters blush. All three embarrassedly explained they were extremely close to you, more than he thought. They even called the male lead's name directly in front of their father to cover for him. He agreed to let him stay, but at the same time forbade the three daughters from any playing around. After the uncle left, you intended to organize a small party, but the three of them refused, because they didn't have time for such things. Thanks to that incident, you learned they always tried to hone their talents because of their father. Yet when talking to him, the three sisters were not satisfied at all. Recently, the subordinates saw the captain often returning later than usual. After training, Nico took out bread to chew and found its taste much worse than usual. Meanwhile, Kazuki still shone regularly, even though her mood was not very good. During the break, she didn't want to drink this bland smoothie at all, despite having always drunk it before. In her own room, Miwa found these cookies had no taste at all. Back then, every day he secretly placed a very eye-catching sweet plate, making the girl Zhao Zion. The three sisters all felt restless, not understanding why their old lifestyle was so uncomfortable. You also had no movement, especially since the uncle had secretly warned not to bother his daughters. He thought that probably only ordinary. People wanted a warm family just like on TV. Suddenly you remembered it was his mother who always craved a happy home like in movies. So he told himself he would do everything for this family. Before going to school, Nico looked back with a regretful face when not seeing him run out to wish a good morning as usual. That noon, friends asked her if chewing those protein bars was boring. Nico said taste wasn't as important as the amount of nutrients, then reached down to pick up the snack bag. It wasn't until she took it out that she realized the short guy had secretly put a lunchbox in her bag. On the other side, the two sisters also wide-eyed when receiving the lunchbox containing a whole heart. Seeing friends about to eat, Nico quickly covered it and strictly forbade touching. Even though it was just a lunchbox, the second sister felt her heart beating strangely fast. You had been up since 4 a.m. to cook rice, so he felt very glad to know they finished it all. Sitting in the living room, the eldest sister on behalf of the two younger ones offered a deal to him. After the deal, Kazuki wanted the male lead to become a supporter for the three sisters. If you agreed to help all three overcome upcoming obstacles, the father wouldn't have any objections. The young man agreed immediately, because we are a family. Yet he was denied mercilessly by the girls. The next day, you gave lunchboxes to each person and wished them a good morning. Although just a normal wish, the three sisters had to admit it sounded really pleasing. In the dressing room, the eldest sister was relaxing when she suddenly heard the door open. Immediately, Kazuki took off her long hair and put it back in place, acting as if nothing happened at the same time. The second sister was teaching the freshmen when a subordinate said someone was calling. Hearing the confused voice, the senior smiled and said, "See you in the next tournament." In the afternoon, the master saw Miwa looking more distracted than usual. After checkmate, he wondered why until now she still hadn't decided on the path she wanted to pursue. That night, the three sisters gradually felt the weight of expectation. The pressure from their father and everyone around was too great, making their moods wither away. Yet everything turned 180 degrees when all three saw the short guy making noodles from whole wheat flour. While engrossed in listing ingredients, suddenly the young man slipped and fell on the floor, making the three sisters burst into laughter. When the noodles were served, everyone had to admit you cooked very well. Upon taking a bite, the group realized the taste was excessively mediocre, despite looking very delicious. The father is a strict person who always wants his three daughters to rise above all, as a matter of course. Therefore, when tasting this ordinary flavor, they found it wasn't bad at all. While washing dishes, Kazuki suddenly wanted to help a hand while that guy dared to show an incomprehensible face that looked truly annoying. The eldest sister revealed she wanted to practice to look a bit more like a girl, yet this guy kept exposing her. You curiously asked how her audition was, and suddenly, she got flustered saying she wasn't sure. Honestly, she was quite worried when accepting this role. Yet when home, she forgot all her anxiety and sorrow when seeing you performing circus acts. Then the eldest sister jumped up, telling him not to be delusional, so erratic. Looking at the hands covered with bandages, Kazuki realized the younger brother wasn't as good at kitchen work as he appeared. You knew he was clumsy and often dropped things, so he switched to using plastic bowls and plates. Not to boast, but no matter how many times you drop them, they won't break. Kazuki acknowledged he was very clumsy, but always had preventive measures in his own way. Just finishing the sentence, the young man tripped again and hit his face on the floor, bleeding. The eldest sister worriedly intended to look over, only to step on some chopsticks and slip after him, just as you turned around. He unintentionally created a lip-to-lip moment. It wasn't until the sister stood up that he realized with horror he had accidentally kissed her. The younger brother hurriedly bowed his head repeatedly in apology, while the eldest sister acted strangely normal. Kazuki said just now was an accident. You don't need to overreact. Knowing that he still felt he owed her an apology, because even if it was an accident, she was still a woman. Not to mention his first kiss tasted like blood, truly unlucky. The next morning, as soon as he turned on the TV and saw a kissing scene, Kazuki turned it off. In the afternoon, Miwa was both enjoying and boasting that this jelly was as soft and smooth as lips, only to have the eldest sister slam the water cup down. The eldest sister just returned to her room trying to stay calm, when suddenly the short guy swaggered in without even bothering to knock, making her startled. You went straight to the point, asking, "Surely you're still very uncomfortable about the accident the other day, right? Or should we just act like nothing happened?" You bowed, hoping she would overlook it, then left, making Kazuki boil with rage. Daring to kiss someone, then acting as if nothing happened, I will definitely kill him. Returning to the dressing room, she told herself she needed to focus more on the upcoming role. Her father had once said being at the top in male roles was not enough. You need to be more diverse. Also because of him, Kazuki had a hard time because the feminine acting style was opposite to her forte. She soon realized she needed to be feminine by closely observing the female co-actors' faces. However, every time she saw their fragile faces, she unconsciously returned to being a prince. Reaching the kissing scene, Kazuki suddenly remembered the previous incident and was too embarrassed to do it. The manager saw that and advised the girl to remember to take good care of herself and not let her personal life affect her acting. That night, Kazuki came home and asked you to do trivial tasks as usual. The younger brother eagerly obeyed, knowing she was back to normal and nothing happened. Suddenly, Kazuki asked, "Are you free this Sunday?" Then she suddenly pressed her hand against the glass, saying, "If you're free this Sunday, go on a date with me," making the little one confused. Episode 6. Upstairs. The two sisters didn't expect the eldest sister to be so bold today as to invite that short guy on a date. Both looked at each other with suspicious eyes, not knowing if you would agree. Well, for now just hide in the room for safety. As soon as the two left, Kazuki showed the recruitment paper for the female lead to the younger brother. The story is, she focused too much on male roles, so she couldn't play a female lead. Besides, someone told her that personal life could affect acting style. So she wanted to go on a date to understand the female soul better. You didn't expect a day when a genius like Kazuki would also have difficulty, so he agreed to go along. Yet the eldest sister shouted out not to misunderstand, truly miserable. "Honestly, I don't understand the female soul, but I will make your heart skip a beat." The next morning, Nico asked the servant if he was busy this Sunday, and the grandson replied vaguely he might do some usual things, seeing that cheerful expression. The girl knew immediately that Yu was lying to secretly date the eldest sister. Meanwhile, the youngest sister was restless with anxiety and couldn't focus on her specialty at all. After eavesdropping on the conversation, Yu said he would prepare the best date. Miwa couldn't imagine how that scene would look. At dinner that night, you could feel the scary atmosphere radiating from the two girls. Glancing over and seeing the sister muttering, the young man winked, signaling he had finished preparing. Then suddenly those two exploded with murderous aura. Sunday morning, the two sisters disguised themselves to facilitate following those two. Initially, Nico intended to tease the youngest sister, but those two wore outfits that matched too well to criticize. Looking at that cheerful face, both kept wondering if just going to meet Kazuki required being this happy. Not to mention the eldest sister was too handsome, so looking at it anyway, they wouldn't match. After a while of waiting, Kazuki suddenly appeared in a white dress, along with long flowing hair. Making many people captivated, Yu was ecstatic when suddenly she slapped herself and acted embarrassed, apologizing for making him wait. Not only him, but even the two younger ones didn't believe this was their sister. Yu just complimented once, and already Kazuki returned to her original self. She had to steady herself, then blushed, saying today she would call him by name, making the boy brighten up at the same time. The two younger ones showed jealousy, seeing that clumsy guy happy beside the eldest sister. When going down the stairs, Kazuki held hands, leading the younger brother down as a habit. Only when you remembered did the two switch back to match the script. While watching dolphins, Kazuki told herself to make some cuter expressions, but didn't know how to do it. In a split second, the two dolphins suddenly jumped down, splashing water everywhere. In an instant, Kazuki instinctively put her body out to shield you, commended by everyone for having such a cool girlfriend. The eldest sister blushed, saying the roles were reversed. During the date, the eldest sister encountered many troubles, like the staff putting the wrong drink, accidentally tearing the bag, and getting skin blisters from wearing different shoes. Seeing the eldest sister so depressed, the two younger ones could only exclaim how amateurish she was. When alone, Kazuki looked in the mirror, not understanding why she was as useless as you. While depressed, suddenly, a young man came over, handed out a business card, and asked if you could give me a little time. She immediately recognized this guy as a recruiter in the industry. She bluntly refused to avoid being discovered dating while that guy was persistent. Why at times like this? Was that fool not here? Seeing the eldest sister being coerced, you suddenly brushed the hand away and asked, "What do you need?" Besides, she knows what she'll do herself, so please be less persistent. Having said that, that guy still followed, asking what she wanted to do, making the grandson stunned. The male lead confusedly boasted all sorts of things, then finished with the line, "She will be my wife." looking like a preschool kid demanding to marry the elder sisters. The more you spoke, the more Kazuki blushed, and that guy gave up and left. People around started to compliment the couple for the bold proposal. Although it was just boasting, the eldest sister felt strangely stirred. You turned back to hold hands and found it warmer than usual. She probably was very tired. Witnessing that scene, the two younger ones had to exclaim, "What is this envious pink atmosphere?" Entering the center, you heard everyone complimenting the sister couple for being so cute and knew something wasn't right. So the young man actively changed the hand-holding style to look like a lover, making the eldest sister startled. Kazuki sweated like a bath and immediately squeezed his hand, signaling the kid to be more affectionate. He was a bit surprised, but if she liked it, he would go all out to the cinema. Kazuki suddenly discovered her acquaintance was in this movie. A year ago, the senior who specialized in male roles decided to switch to female roles. After the senior appeared on the screen, Kazuki hadn't watched once for fear of seeing her change. Yet you wanted to see it, so she reluctantly watched. However, she didn't expect that the senior still couldn't discard the habit from when playing male roles. Previously, she often chose male villain roles and was praised by everyone as being so perfect that she surpassed the original. So even a top person like the senior couldn't transform into a female lead. When walking out of the theater, Kazuki heard people around complaining about the movie. It felt like the female lead suited a male role better, so it didn't fit at all. Coupled with pressure from her father, Kazuki gradually lost her confidence and started to feel afraid. On the other side, you also realized he just did something stupid. Kazuki Sr. acted not badly, but also enough to make her feel pressure with the female role. The two younger sisters seeing this scene were also speechless, truly a direct move into the ground. In the afternoon, you led the eldest sister to the Ferris wheel, but Kazuki had no mind to continue. Ending a date like this is exactly by the textbook, but after all, he couldn't change anything. While mocking. Suddenly, the three sisters heard people say, "If you confess on this Ferris wheel, you'll surely succeed," making them stunned. Just as you turned back saying, "This was the last item in my dating plan, what a coincidence." Holding hands up to the Ferris wheel, the girl didn't expect the younger brother to play so prominently. Setting aside that, Kazuki pondered about the upcoming female lead audition. When young, she possessed prominent features looking no different from a boy in the female group. Thanks to that, Kazuki was recruited into the drama troupe and quickly shown in boy roles. Initially, it was just a hobby, but gradually it became work she was forced to do. The more success she achieved, the more pressure accompanied it. Just slipping and falling once, everyone would turn away, because a star that doesn't shine has no value. And to avoid that scenario, Kazuki thought she should give up instead of suffering a disastrous failure. When she looked up, she discovered the younger brother who was afraid of heights was sitting trembling since then. Truly a fool beyond words, already weak, yet liked acting tough. Despite knowing that, you still kept plunging in so that the eldest sister would have the best dating experience. Hearing this, Kazuki impatiently told the brother to be calm. "Don't rush." Then suddenly the young man stood up. He then plucked up all his courage to declare, "I will make you the best actress in the world," making the girl lose all excitement. "Oh, so there was no confession." She pointed her finger, forcing him to sit down, and then gazed at his fearful face. Thinking back, before he didn't do anything useful, truly he's a fool beyond words. Kazuki showed envy, wishing to be an ordinary person like the younger brother, while you proudly boasted he lived by failure. Then he switched to sitting beside to show her the photos of today. It turns out, behind those clumsy strokes was a lovely face Kazuki had never seen. You acknowledged she was very good at acting cool, but her natural expression was also very beautiful. Actually, if you fail, many people will turn their backs on you. But we can learn to love those mistakes. Kazuki's face turned red, and she told the younger brother to stop being flowery. After all, thanks to you, she had regained her inherent confidence. Seeing the two walk out, the two younger ones couldn't help but wonder why the eldest sister was so fresh. That night, Kazuki admitted lately she felt like she was acting the way the audience wanted. But after today, I've learned that even after falling a few times, there will be people who like that side of me. He told her that if she encountered difficulties later, please remember this date. The eldest sister embarrassedly snatched her hand away, scolding him. She probably needed that, making the two younger sisters unable to sit still. Nico, with a sixth sense, suspected something would happen, so she continued to persistently follow. On the way back, Kazuki glanced at the eager face of the younger brother and suddenly stopped. She put her hand on his cheek and pressed her face close, making the two younger ones panic and about to run and stop them. Then Kazuki whispered in his ear, revealing that the accident the other day was her first kiss. Seeing the high people sneaky with each other made the other two curious what she was plotting. Under the moonlight, Kazuki took off her wig, saying it was time to go back to being a prince, and went straight home. Although it was only fleeting, Nico believed she had changed a bit. Just back home, he was unexpectedly greeted by the two sisters, making him feel extremely happy. It turns out this is the feeling of greeting in a family. You might be goofy, but he's also the supporter the two sisters cherish. Episode 7. Although not too outstanding in studying, Kazuki was still at a good level, so she was quite comfortable. Among the three sisters, Nico had the worst study record because she devoted all her essence to sports. But thanks to that, she got to study with you, making the other two jealous. If we were in the same class, we could have talked like that, while studying. Suddenly, a guy passed by and bumped into you, hearing a cry for help nearby. The three sisters immediately recognized the man as the handbag thief. You glared at him, saying you chose the wrong day, and hurriedly chased after him, but it was strange. Suddenly, Nico rushed over and attacked, but the opponent blocked everything. It turns out the thief was a martial artist. No wonder he could duel with the second sister. Yet he could only throw a few punches, till he took Nico's kick and fell headfirst to the ground. Having defeated the thief, the little one picked up the bag and said, "You are indeed the shame of martial arts," amidst everyone's cheers. After returning the item, Nico sluggishly pulled down her sleeve to hide the wound. Suddenly discovered by you, she blushed and told the young man not to overreact. This wasn't much. You took out a handkerchief, saying, "Even if it's a scratch, it's very painful." Then he gently wiped away the bloodstains on her hand, making Nico blush. While both were busy giving out dog food, the thief took the chance to run away before being caught. However, before running far, he was blocked by a group of male students. Seeing the thief rushing, a handsome guy in the group took off his bag and kicked him against the wall. Everyone immediately recognized the young man as Hayato, the high school karate champion for many years. Generally, he is a martial arts genius, and also Nico's senior. Coincidentally, today Hayato came here to pick up the second sister. It turns out the senior led everyone to the dojo, here to practice and socialize for a week, while greeting. The whole group discovered why the short guy was standing in the ranks. The young man was present here to investigate if that guy had any intentions toward Nico. She respects him that much, he probably is hard to defeat, right? The vice-captain heard that those two used to gather at a dojo. Besides, he was a handsome guy. So many guys in the group were very annoyed. While talking, Nico suddenly stepped out, demanding a spar with the older brother to recall old memories. Yet Hayato refused because of the gender difference. It's making the gap between both too large. However, seeing the girl pleading so much, he relented and accepted the challenge. Thought this match would be intense, but the captain was defeated with only one blow. Seeing the girl not intending to give up, you immediately ran out to intervene, and you know to be gentle with your junior? Standing outside, Nico recounted that he was her hero. The first time her father brought her to the dojo, she defeated all the big brothers there. After that practice, some guys with bruised egos intended to gang up on Nico to teach her a lesson. Unexpectedly, before they could act, Hayato had knocked them all down. Since that incident, I've admired and seen him as a motivation to become stronger. He was also a bit surprised because before he thought she was an autonomous type, but it turned out not to be so. Suddenly, Hayato approached and announced, "With your current level, I want you to follow me." People were shocked, thinking he was taking her away, but no. More accurately, he wanted to recruit Nico into his school's karate club. Initially, his school was a boys' school, but this year it has changed to coeducation. I've talked to your father. If you want to be stronger, come with me. Besides, what is the meaning of practicing with weaker people? Seeing the whole group strongly objecting, Hayato turned back and asked, "Who will be the one to train Nico?" Thinking back, he was right, because until now the captain was the one carrying this club. Indeed, what he said was completely true. We only hinder you. Everyone has agreed, so let's reach the peak of martial arts together. Nico, after school, you took the initiative to go home with the girl to talk. On the way back, he confessed, "I feel like I'm being left behind. Also, I don't know how you feel about this." Nico heard that the boarding school hired experts to manage diet and living conditions. If it were in the past, I would have seized this opportunity. However, now, there are too many things that make her hesitate. Especially when there is always a Radiant, you always welcoming her back. Standing before the door, Nico blushed and expressed, "I want us to be together." At that moment, the whole team unexpectedly rushed out and replied, "We also feel that way, Captain. If you want to hone your talent, just follow that senior. We fully support you." Having said that, the group cried miserably and ran away. Truly foolish beyond words. You felt glad knowing she was surrounded by kind teammates. It's truly amazing that they were so devoted to her. After chatting, he took the chance to cook dinner for the three sisters. While eating, Sister Kazuki, known for being stingy, suddenly allowed Nico to freely use her shampoo. The little one was creeped out, didn't believe it, because once she accidentally used the wrong one, and she already went crazy. Next, Miwa put a piece of fish on the plate, saying, "I'll give you a piece." "What's with this, sister?" While washing dishes, you revealed everyone in school knew about her being recruited. Probably everyone wanted to be with her, so they acted like that. Soaking in the hot tub, Nico felt happy at the clumsy, caring actions of those two. Yet when thinking about that short guy, she fumed. Stepping out into the living room, she wondered how he felt about this. "Personally, I want us to always be together." The next morning, while everyone was practicing, you took the initiative to find the senior to refuse that recruitment offer. Hearing the captain say, "I won't go to your school," the group was so happy. Hayato alone didn't accept the request, and even loudly forced the younger girl to go there. "Don't we both want to aim for the peak of martial arts?" Nico squeezed her hand and replied, "Even so, that's not the only way." When asked why she was so reluctant, she thought of the three of them and was too ashamed to say. Hayato sighed, put his hand on her shoulder and asked, "You don't prioritize your talent?" And I thought Nico was not an ordinary girl. Seeing the second sister in trouble, you suddenly came out from the closet, making the group startled. If Nico is with someone whose skills are superior enough for you to acknowledge, then you will let her stay here, right? Then the young man slammed the challenge letter on him and clearly stated, "I will defeat you because I also want to be by Nico's side." Not only the captain, but everyone felt that the short guy was so cool today. But then they quickly realized defeating the older brother was impossible for you. On second thought, he is the son of a famous late actress. Surely a miracle will happen. Hayato smiled, not expecting this academy to truly attract so many talents. Then he squeezed the challenge letter and shared his condolences with him, but she suits him better. Nico tried to persuade the short guy to change his mind, but he kept insisting, "I will surely win." Standing before the two guys fighting for her, she was confused and didn't know whom to choose. Well, do whatever you want. With permission, Hayato immediately accepted the challenge and made an appointment with the red-haired one on the last day of the training session. "If you lose, she will be mine." That night, Nico herself trained you because her future now depended on him. But seeing the young man jumping around like that really wasn't good. The senior's strongest weapon is the range of his kicks. If you can't get close, do you win by faith? You curiously tried to get close, only to be knocked down by the little one. Who told you to startle people? Just bear it. Nico gave a cold towel, comparing him to an ant challenging an elephant. The truth is, you also knew he was a mediocre person. Nothing compared to her senior. But no matter what, I will still try to the end. This morning, I was too angry to say clearly. But I really want to be with Nico and those two. Making the captain imagine things. The little one stood up and scolded him for being a self-satisfied parasite who knew how to make others disappointed. You apologize for speaking roundly, but I've gotten used to seeing the three sisters off to school every morning. Now it's your turn to tell me why you refused that attractive recruitment offer. Cornered against the wall by the red-haired guy, Nico was forced to speak her mind. She shyly admitted that, "I want to be with teammates and don't want to leave home. Plus, I've gotten used to your take-care wish too. Furthermore, every time I see those two being diligent, I have more motivation. Okay?" While at the climax, suddenly the other two opened the door and entered, pretending not to know. Seeing the bright red face, it was clear they were lying and pretending to hide. "Having said that, we heard you two were having a difficult match, so we stopped by to cheer." You cheerfully replied, "Thank you very much. I'll try my best." Episode 8. At night, Nico almost fell over, seeing the two girls wearing aprons shyly welcoming you home. "Well, we said we'd support him, so it's just a little promotion, don't misunderstand." You smirked and complimented both for being very beautiful, but the kitchen looked like a battlefield with two steaming plates of food. Knowing they cooked this for him, you enjoyed it deliciously. Being complimented by him for the delicious dish made both happy, much to the second sisters' doubt. After tasting their own food, the two slumped on the table, not expecting it to taste that bad. You couldn't bear to waste their efforts, so he suggested both lend a hand. He devotedly guided and helped Kazuki memorize the recipe. At the same time, he showed Miwa the tip for peeling more easily, and she answered so lovely. I just said yes like the shogi teacher taught. Don't you misunderstand. Thanks to this occasion, you realize that even geniuses have to try in fields they are not good at. Indeed, I must also strive more. After a while in the kitchen, all three finally finished the multigrain rice dish Nico liked. If only it were like this for the first time. Following the eldest sister's words, she sat down and tasted a spoon, then praised the dish for being delicious. You intended to take the spoon to eat, but his hand went numb and wouldn't move. Maybe my hand is stiff due to too much training. Miwa called him clumsy, then moped a spoon and fed him, making the two older sisters shocked. Just feeding you one spoon made the youngest sister feel strangely stirred. Not to be outdone, the eldest sister blew and told you to open his mouth and eat. What's with this, Grandma? After feeding the short guy, the two sisters realized they were usually the ones receiving things. But the act of giving also brought a very great feeling. You alone was a bit confused while the second sister was still shocked seeing this scene. 3 days before the match, the short guy was specially cared for by the two sisters, looking very annoying. Nico intended to finish the practice, but unexpectedly the young man still wanted to continue to increase the chance of winning. Only 2 days were left. Hayato still felt bitter when being refused by the junior. Seeing Nico approach, the senior bluntly commented, "You have become weak. Your spirit is declining every day because you are relying on others' strength to make decisions. Originally you weren't this weak. Oh, how pitiful." Hayato passed by and declared, "I will defeat you and take you to my school to retrain." Night at the gym, Nico saw the short guy's punches had become stronger. However, the senior's comment this afternoon made her think a lot. She confided, "I've always been the one considered stronger. Everyone always wants me to be strong because strength is my talent. Although expected by many, that's not what Nico has. Honestly, I'm also afraid when facing big guys or being tempted by cute things. But I was placed under too much great expectation, so I became someone too hesitant to follow both directions. Since then, she always conceived that she wasn't allowed to be feminine. Sorry for dragging you into this. I hope the little one wouldn't be too concerned because he was the one who challenged him. But I didn't expect Nico to lose her nature. That often? The first time I met you, I thought you were a real monster. But the truth is, Nico is a polite and dignified girl. She's always curious about beauty and fashion, even loving beauty, and extremely liking flower watching." Nico blushed and scolded. "Who asked you to scrutinize that closely, you short bastard?" You expressed. "You are always strong, so seeing your other side is interesting." To be honest, I've never seen it as weird. Not even once. Nico is wrong or right. You are strong, but sometimes also easily hurt. That is the real Nico. The girl blushed and fumed, accidentally punching the young man's face, then sat down hiding her embarrassment. "I want to make my own decisions about my life. Okay, also, I want you to help because I'm very hesitant." You approached and spread 3 fingers saying, "If that's what you want, then we'll gang up on him." Nico strongly opposed because that would be completely unfair. She told the girl to just be at peace. Since they've already taken the bait, just play dirty to the end. On the SEA match day, Kazuki stood anxiously looking more tense than usual. On the other side, Miwa wanted to finish the match as quickly as possible, to run to the karate gym to watch. Meanwhile, Hayato and everyone wondered why Nico was standing with that short guy. Yu was thick-skinned enough to suggest playing too. Matches with the senior, the young man gave the reason. If Nico beats you, it proves she is strong enough to refuse the offer. Or if anyone among us defeats you, you also have to cancel the deal. Wow, this guy's playing dirty. After a while of consideration, Hayato agreed to face both, and it was recorded as evidence. Even the students had to admit the male lead was indeed a cunning person. Although considered a villain by the whole school, he didn't mind. As long as I can protect Nico, I'm ready to do any trick. I'll attack first and make the senior injured enough to create an advantage for you, so you must try to win. Before entering the arena, Nico noticed the short guy's hand was shaking because of tension. Instinctively, she approached and held his hand to reassure him before the whole school. Though shy, she still said words of encouragement to buff Yu's spirit. Then she got angry and told him to go to the arena. Don't gossip anymore. When the opponent entered, Hadato seriously vowed to take Nico out of here. He stood ready and replied, "I'll show you the result of a week's training with her." Although fighting spirit was there, the result was still very messy. After getting beaten up, Yu gloomily apologized for losing miserably. Nico encouraged, telling him not to be too gloomy. Just let her handle this situation. Strong as she was, she still felt extremely uneasy. Because if I lose again this time, I'll leave those 3. At her weakest moment, used Take Care wish. Blew away all her worries. Thanks to that wish, Nico regained her spirit to enter the match, deciding her future. As soon as the referee yelled start, the second sister suddenly made the first move to everyone's surprise. The little one knew very well the senior possessed powerful long-range kicks, so she actively approached and attacked continuously. Though small and light, her strike speed and accuracy were just like lightning bolts. Nico wondered why the senior didn't try to attack her. Instead, he blocked all attacks as if he knew beforehand. During a lapse of vigilance, Hayato suddenly struck directly into the middle to score. Because he had watched the girl since she was small, he knew her strike speed was very fast. And also because of that, the older brother held all Nico's attack types in the palm of his hand. The younger sister never thought about breaking out of the mold, so she was always outplayed by the senior. Kicking Nico back, Hayato commented, "You are really too honest then," throughout thunderous strikes to get another point. If he scored one more point, the captain would suffer defeat. The senior advised the girl not to try anymore, just come with him. I can't stand seeing you this weak. Just as she was about to give up, Nico heard that familiar voice again. She looked up and realized Yu was leading the cheering squad, truly embarrassing. Come to think of it, his nature was always this quirky in the training sessions. Don't know why every time I think about it, it's so funny. Diju is right. Maybe I should accept my real self. Though it was only fleeting, Hayato felt she had just changed. Returning to the match, Hayato focused on observing movements to predict the attack. Just thinking this girl was too easy to predict, unexpectedly she kicked his face, making him dazed. Do tried to stay calm and raised two hands to block the strike, but unexpectedly, the girl changed direction and struck his face directly. Not stopping there, Nico lowered her body and jumped up, making the senior sweat profusely. The vice captain admitted, "I've never seen her use such cunning tricks in a match." Hayato could read her because her fighting technique was too formulaic.
Therefore,
the fact that the little one changed unpredictably in the middle of the match was only predictable by faith. Outside, Kazuki and Miwa rushed to the gym to see the final result. Seeing the older brother in distress, Nico smiled and asked if he thought she was different from the person he knew. With her mischievous, feminine side, she confidently boasted that this was another side of her. Then she finished the match with a kick, along with a stirring smile. When Hayato fell, the whole school yelled in cheers for Nico, who won very convincingly. In joy, she shed tears of happiness that everyone hadn't seen before. In response to that victory, you ran out to congratulate her return, then used a towel to wipe away the tear stains. When seeing the surprised faces, she realized she had unintentionally revealed her weakness. Anyway, since it already happened, Nico leaned against him and said occasionally, "I only cry like that once, okay?" Episode 9. Before parting, Nico sent an apology for refusing the senior's offer. Hayato sighed and smiled, saying, "Anyway, the match was over, just had to accept it." As for Yu, although losing miserably, he still knew how to manage. Then the older brother pulled up his pants to show Nico the severely bruised leg. Though weak, he concentrated all his attacks here, and honestly it was a bit scary. "Because of that, I couldn't block your final kick accurately. Surely you are an important person to him, right?" Seeing Nico blush when mentioning that name made Hayato feel a bit sad. "Intended to pull you back to train together because I've liked you for a long time." Nico naively stood ready and replied, "I also like you," making the senior's heart ache even more. "I'm trying to confess. Didn't you realize?" Nico got flustered, asking him since when he liked her, and the young man showed a bored face, replying, "Since a long time ago, specifically the first day you came to the dojo. I want to be by your side, so what about you? You also have someone you want to be with, right?" Seen her hesitate for too long, Hayato said he didn't need to be answered. "You've become much stronger. See you at the next tournament." Right after the senior left, Nico realized she really wanted to be by that short guy's side. The girl held her head and moved around randomly, telling herself that her view was not like the senior's. All those aspects contributed to Nico's person, and no aspect was right or wrong. Despite that, every time she thought about it, her heart beat strangely fast. At night, Nico sulked because the three went straight home without waiting for her. Wait, come to think of it, why did I want to go with them? Seeing the second sister enter the room, you smiled, welcoming her home. It'd be a bit surprising, but we're preparing to organize a celebration party for you. Nico frowned, not expecting this guy to always overdo it. Looking at the hands full of bandages, she hoped you wouldn't work that hard. The male lead smiled and replied, "I didn't help much in the match, so this is nothing yet. Lately you've tried a lot, so I'll reward anything you want." Unexpectedly, The young man had a cunning smile and asked again, "Anything is okay?" That time, Nico imagined the scene where you would pin her against the wall, then put his hand on her chin saying, "I want to make you mine." Seeing the little one scold, the short guy made the other two think those two were going to do something. Naughty went alone. Not resigned, both also followed and suggested granting a wish for you, expecting this young man would give dark requests. Yet the grandson excitedly invited the family to the park. The three sisters were disappointed, not believing this short guy's request was so childish. He always wanted to go to an amusement park with family, but the girls didn't think so, because from any angle it looked more like a date. Suddenly discovered the uncle was calling and wanted to talk to Nico. Actively answered the phone, emphasizing the importance of resting, making him stunned. "I'll take the responsibility to ensure they get enough rest." However, when the uncle loudly told him to return the phone to Nico, the young man didn't dare to push back. Returning to the main topic, the father didn't spare compliments for his daughter being excellent. Even if it was just an unofficial match, your defeating Hayato is very worth recording. Hearing those two talking, he was amazed, not expecting him to be so gentle today. At the other end of the line, the uncle was also quite surprised to know the male lead was helping the three daughters break through more. Thinking back, you wasn't wrong. I'll allow you all to relax for a while. That meant we were allowed to go to the park freely, truly so happy. Next day, Nico went to the bookstore to consult dating fashion styles. Kazuki took advantage of the break to research how to impress her crush, and Miwa locked herself in her room to secretly learn 10 secrets to make a guy fall instantly. Indeed, dating at the park wasn't simple at all. At the meeting point, Yu was standing waiting for everyone when he was suddenly blindfolded. Guess who's behind? After he guessed correctly, Miwa immediately released her hands, not expecting him to guess so fast. Seems like I arrived earlier than those two older sisters. It's being complimented by the brother that this outfit suited her very well, made the younger sister feel extremely happy. When the eldest sister arrived, Miwa was shocked, completely, not even recognizing her. The little one pointed and teased Kazuki for acting too much. Surely she would be exhausted later. You commented she looked fresh, different from usual, making her embarrassed all over her arms. Then Nico appeared in a very lovely feminine dress. All three screamed and asked if you were also disguising like me. The younger sister turned back and replied, "I wear what I like. Anyway, today is a day to relax." Well, don't lie. There was never anything like this before. Nico didn't bother much because she only wanted to impress you. That was enough. Actually, before coming here, the three sisters secretly planned for today. Lately, all three were being toyed with by you, so they secretly planned to get back. At any cost, we'll make his heart skip a beat at this park. Standing before the haunted house, Kazuki took the reason of wanting to experience the horror feeling like in movies to enter. "I'm afraid I have to act first, my younger sisters. With my heaven-sent acting ability, I'll surely make this short." Guy blush. However, when entering to play, Kazuki forgot her goal and stood to research how people scared others, until the ghost retreated. She suddenly remembered and acted fake, acting deep too much only to be disappointed knowing he was so scared that he couldn't stand up. Seeing the sister looking intently, you hurriedly justified, "I just stumbled." But when seeing several arms coming out, he couldn't restrain himself and hugged Kazuki. Unintentionally attracted by Yu's cuteness, she reached out and patted his head and accepted failure. Outside, the two younger sisters thought the sister would succeed thanks to acting talent. Until seeing Kazuki carrying the young man out, both were immediately disillusioned. You tremblingly expressed, "It's lucky the person coming with me is..." You, without giving her a chance to counter, Miwa clearly looked down on him and realized her opportunity had come. The younger sister insisted on going on a supersonic roller coaster, then pretended to be weak, saying, "I'm very afraid of thriller games. Can you sit with me?" Kazuki was afraid her wig would fly, so she decided to stay down and wait with the younger sister, sitting on the roller coaster. Miwa giggled because everything went exactly as planned. After finishing playing, I'll pretend to be staggering and freely act spoiled with him. When going down, the younger sister was about to pretend to be dizzy, but unexpectedly, the grandson had already slumped on the bench. Running to ask him, you admitted he couldn't play these games, but he really wanted to play with her, so it's okay. Miwa was moved and sat down to give him her lap to help him relax, then fumed, saying she just conveniently sat to rest. Don't be. Delusional thought it was something serious, turned out he failed too. Truly a dog mocking a cat with many hairs. In the next turn, Nico dragged the short guy to play the teacup spinning game and volunteered to lead. I'll try to create a super fast spin, then use inertia to fall into his lap. When performing, you accidentally spun too hard and leaned completely toward that girl. In panic, he spun in the opposite direction and unintentionally created a lip-to-lip situation. But instead of touching each other, the male lead almost fell straight out. Nico panicked and quickly pulled the short guy's shirt up, then continued to spin like a windmill, looking very annoying. Not accepting defeat, the three sisters continued to collude to defeat you while you was eating a snack. Miwa took the initiative to wipe his mouth and licked it a little and realized she went too far. The older brother naively followed without knowing what shame was. Kazuki quickly attacked by telling the younger brother to drink from the cup for couples. Bragged too much, then when people pressed their faces in, she couldn't take it. Nico had no purpose but just wanted to eat cake, but it was too much. So you broke it in half and gave the other half to her. The second sister took a bite, then thanked you with all her femininity, making all three hearts skip a beat. Unluckily, everyone blushed, so this case didn't count. And just like that, you personally fed onions to the three sisters with innocence. Although very annoyed, all three had to acknowledge this short guy was indeed something. Coincidentally, all discovered you was looking intently at a family. Nico thought maybe he really just wanted to come here with family, as she approached too. Borrowed the phone and took a photo with the other two sisters. Honestly, today we felt very happy. If you hadn't spoken, the three of us probably would have never set foot here. Though short and somewhat stubborn, we never thought there'd be a supporter better than you. Thank you very much, you. Seeing him hurriedly cover his bright red face, the three sisters were shocked. All day today was wasted. You bowed and expressed, being able to come here with everyone, I feel very happy. From the bottom of my heart, thank you three very much, making the whole family confused, sitting on the train. Miwa suddenly woke up and secretly looked at everyone's sleeping faces. But when looking up at the nearby sign, she didn't want to go home at all. Episode 10. Before partying, the two sisters suddenly felt themselves filled with energy strangely. Indeed, doing a trip like that occasionally was quite good. When hearing Yu's voice, both turned back and replied, "See you later." Looking at those two staring blankly at each other, you had to admit truly sisters are different. While cleaning, the young man suddenly discovered Miwa's lunch was on the table, knowing the younger sister looked forward to his food every day. You immediately found the way to the competition venue to bring food to her. On the way, he accidentally discovered a female friend walking and reading a book at the same time. She was so clumsy that she hit a power pole without knowing. Seeing her about to walk straight into wet cement, the male lead hurriedly ran over to guide her aside. Unexpectedly, the opponent frowned and turned back to ask him, "What do you need?" Noticing the girl was sweating like a bath, you gave her a candy to eat to supplement necessary minerals. As soon as he left, the female friend took out a similar candy from her pocket and asked if he was like her too. When arriving at the competition, Yu was captivated by Miwa's coolness. Indeed, when playing shogi, she looks very cool. This short guy seemed naive. The staff member stood to explain the current situation to the male lead. Miwa, although very strong, was being beaten up. Every move of hers was completely blocked by the opponent, so the chance to counterattack was very slim. Seeing her concentrate intensely, you didn't dare to speak to cheer, although people didn't allow it anyway. After a while of analyzing each step, Miwa licked her lips, which is a sign of victory. Immediately, the staff member realized the match was decided. Although they were still playing, every time she was sure of winning, Miwa would lick her lips. No matter how the opponent struggled, the result was only one. Although winning, this was still a struggling match, not easy at all. In excitement, you accidentally ran to congratulate, making the girl surprised. The young man's eyes brightened, and he complimented. "Just now you were so cool, but I forgot to take a photo," Miwa shyly said. "Even if you flatter me, it won't make me happy." When going out, you suddenly remembered and gave lunch to the girl. Competing costs a lot of energy, so he gave extra food. After delivering food, the young man planned to fly straight home when Miwa suddenly asked, "Or do you want to have lunch with me too?" He was shocked. So this is the feeling when having a younger sister. Just about to see if there was a place to eat nearby, the girl from earlier suddenly ran to grab the lunch, then turned back and glared. So this is the reason why you lost your form. Until the little one grabbed it back, the other one showed fear. "Why did you react so strongly? Has my lifelong rival fallen this far?" Just then you suddenly yelled out praising the girl for being so cool. Then you two will become the closest rivals in the shogi world. The female friend found it pleasing and confidently declared, "This Sakura is her lifelong enemy." "Oh, but before you never won against me even once. Why brag so much?" Hey, just now, after being beaten, you still won't accept defeat? Knowing that Sakura still insisted that Miwa's skill had declined in the past. You used to win against me very fast. You were a young talent in the professional female shogi world who defeated even male grandmasters. I always admired, unfortunately. This little girl has enough conditions to challenge for the title, so your time is almost over. But my time hasn't even come yet. Why do you boast so much? Sakura, as a lifelong rival, will diligently study to find a way to defeat Miwa. A while later, when opening the lunchbox, Miwa felt extremely happy at the sparkling dishes. It would be perfect if that unpleasant girl wasn't here. During lunch hour, go somewhere else, please. Don't bother others, old lady. Mentioning food, Sakura proudly showed her burnt rolled egg lunchbox, making the two think she picked up coal to eat. The girl got angry and quickly justified because, I'm busy studying, so how could I have time to cook properly? Startled by a dog barking, the younger sister accidentally tossed the rice balls into the air. While chasing them, she stumbled, making the older brother panic and hurriedly rush out to catch her, although he also tripped. He still caught her in his arms together with the rice balls. At that moment, Sakura accidentally fell for this guy. Miwa looked annoyed and flew into a rage, asking, "What the hell are you two doing?" While boiling, suddenly Sakura slapped her face, asking, "How dare you do that to me?" You smiled awkwardly and gave the rice balls to pass the subject, but they were crushed like that, so eat by faith. Just in one situation, Miwa had a feeling those two were strangely similar. After causing trouble, Sakura continued to stand up to challenge, making the younger sister more annoyed. Although both argued, you felt very happy because in class, she was always alone. When competing, she looks very cold, but at least she has a lively friend. Thanks to that, I got to see more of her lovely aspects, seeing the brother standing smiling. Miwa immediately let go and asked, "What are you so happy about? Tell you this girl only follows me and doesn't know anything?" Even comparing her as being persistent like goldfish poop, making Sakura angry and scolding around. After that, you learned. She was also a professional female shogi player, but was somewhat inferior compared to a genius. However, thanks to ceaseless efforts, the girl reached her first title match. Sadly, Miwa was Sakura's opponent, who had beaten her thoroughly. So no one considered her as Miwa's rival except the girl herself. On the day of the title match, you accidentally discovered the two older sisters had left their rooms earlier than usual. Today he intended to go to the temple to pray for Miwa to win. Coincidentally, the two older sisters also had the same intention, so all three decided to go together. When arriving, you quickly recognized Sakura had arrived early to pray. Hearing the familiar voice, the younger sister immediately turned around and found he was going with the two famous sisters. Asked and found out Sakura, although diligent, couldn't match a genius. So the girl came to this temple to write a bunch of wishes asking for God's protection, making the two older sisters very surprised. Why, you explained currently he was the supporter for the three sisters. For example, today he came here to pray for Miwa to win. Having said that, I'm clumsy, so I help what I can. Sakura squeezed her hand thinking because you are an ordinary person, that's why. Besides, you look like a servant for them rather than a supporter. Sakura extremely hated that supporter role because it always hides behind geniuses. I want to play the main role in my life. I will never give up just for lacking a bit of talent. Thought the two of us were similar, but it turns out I was wrong. Today I'll surely win and take the title from Miwa. Then Sakura didn't forget to trip once to lose her image. You saw and ran over to help, but also tripped on a brick and fell on the girl. Witnessing that scene, the two older sisters immediately blew up, asking how on earth it turned out like this. Despite being strongly opposed by the girl, you still found the two of them quite similar. Sakura blushed and denied. Don't generalize everyone, making those two older ones more annoyed. Both turned back and clasped their hands, strictly forbidding Miwa from losing to this girl. Sakura stood up and declared, "Today I'll surely win," then ran to the competition venue. While the title match was ongoing, you cheered by turning on the live stream to watch. The two older sisters told the male lead not to be serious because the title round needed up to 5 matches. Besides, Miwa would win anyway, so we are going first. Having said that, the two still stood and followed the match for several hours. When catching hands to pull down to watch together, they embarrassedly rushed away at night. He was not surprised to see Miwa bowing in defeat. He worriedly intended to run over there, but the two older sisters went upstairs saying, "Just behave as usual." Then they went to their rooms, slamming things around out of worry for her. You told himself he must behave normally, as they said. But in the end, he still accidentally made a super lovely meal. Is that very normal, boss? As soon as the younger sister arrived home, all three gave full encouragement, making Miwa extremely surprised. The little one refused dinner for the reason of being busy preparing for the next match, then went to her room to practice. After finishing snacks, Miwa went out and saw some items placed in front of the door, thinking what it was. Turned out to be supplements and protein, along with a note from the two older sisters, making the youngest sister happy. Suddenly hearing a snoring sound, Miwa was startled to realize the short guy was sitting asleep right next to her. Why didn't you go to your room to sleep but sat here to be so miserable? You smiled and said, actually, I made some night food. For you then led the girl to the kitchen by pouring hot chocolate on the surface. Sparkling cat slowly appeared, looking very lovely. Miwa with sparkling eyes turned away, saying, at times like this, you should let people be alone in peace, you hear? Then she sat on the kitchen floor shyly thanking him. By the way, revealing every time after a match I lose 2 or 3 kilograms, so I'm not afraid of getting fat. It's truly enviable. Episode 11. In the second title match, Miwa once again bowed in defeat to Sakura in bitterness. When running to the competition site, you heard many people discussing after her 2 consecutive losses, if as Sister Kazuki said the other day, it meant Miwa would lose the title if she lost one more match. While shouting to find the younger sister, Sakura said she had left a long time ago. Don't tell me you came here to meet that pathetic failure. Despite Yu's frowning, the girl continued to criticize Miwa for practicing too loosely. This is the price to pay for relying too much on talent. I bet she's surely crying and running after losing 2 consecutive matches to me. Thought you would be bitter, but the young man bowed and thanked her very much. Sakura's words, although bitter, pointed out the right weakness without any bad intention at all. Caught in her blind spot, the girl blushed and told him to stop twisting her words. Everything is not as you think. Even though the match ended long ago, you still stayed here waiting for me, right? Besides, you looked so cool when you appeared. Just now, making the girl even more confused. Before leaving, you also didn't forget to warn, our Miwa won't give up so easily. At that moment, Sakura suddenly found this older brother really cool, even though he was just a short supporter. Just home, the 2 sisters showed their gloomy faces and recounted the situation. Just now, Miwa was home. But right after she went somewhere else, it's true she lost 2 consecutive matches, but Nico thought her spirit wasn't that weak. Actually, before leaving, the 2 sisters stood and encouraged to revive Miwa's spirit. Both thought, you are just like us, then your efforts will be worthily rewarded. Unexpectedly, the girl's face darkened, and she said, I am not like you two, making both silent. Usually Miwa would be silent when serious, but this was the first time both saw her that angry. Noticing the situation seemed tense, you immediately ran out to find her. Despite the 2 sisters' best efforts to stop him, he still put on shoes and ran out to search. When it started to rain, you kept wondering why she was that angry. What could make a lovely girl change so fast to the point of being dizzy? After a while in the rain, you finally found the younger sister in a cat cafe. Kissing the cat, the little one suddenly discovered the older brother had come all the way here to find her. Contrary to his thoughts, you felt relieved seeing her here. Earlier, I thought you were sitting in the rain under some bridge. After drying her, he sat down and asked, do you often come here? Miwa shared. Occasionally I come here to release stress because everyone at home is busy. I don't dare to raise cats because our house is as messy as a pigsty. Seeing the girl look a bit more cheerful, you seized the opportunity to encourage. Although the first 2 matches weren't as expected, you still have a chance to counterattack. I believe you will surely defeat Sakura, to hide her sadness. Miwa buried her face in the cat, then inhaled deeply like an addict. The youngest sister expressed that professional players are people who spend all their time for shogi. Everyone dedicates themselves to that passion. But she couldn't be passionate. Like them, you always saw her home practicing CC, but never knew she only practiced for the results. The reason she chose shogi was to have a title to report to her father. Years ago, father soon discovered his youngest daughter was a true genius, so he made her try to choose a subject to prove it. Not beyond expectation, Miwa easily became the youngest shogi champion. Exactly at that time, Miwa realized that as long as she achieved success, she would be praised by her father. Besides, she would be able to stand alongside her 2 older sisters, also for those desires. She chose to pursue shogi, while those two were striving their best to shine in the field they were best at. Miwa couldn't understand why they put in so much effort. Gradually, she understood they pursued goals with burning passion, not like the one playing shogi to earn results. A perfunctory one like her couldn't be like her two sisters. Maybe you don't know, but shogi is very scary. When concentration is focused on the game, you will see clearly how determined the opponent is. Sakura's eyes then seemed to see the hollowness inside me. It seemed to want to say that a guy like me will also reach the day of tasting failure. Seeing the bitter tears, you just silently patted her head. Thank you for confiding in me. Noticing it was still early, you turned on the guy who gets girls mode and asked if she wanted to hang out a bit. Witnessing that, not only Miwa, but even the cat had to be embarrassed.
I'm my best.
Then the young man held her hand and led her to the street full of love hotels. While dreaming, suddenly he led her into the largest supermarket in this area, making Miwa speechless. There are so many things to do. Why did you lead me here? You explained currently those two were very sad when she ran out. So I intended to buy something to comfort them, and do you have any suggestions? Miwa saw Sister Nico likes cute things, so she planned to buy something sweet, while Sister Kazuki liked to act like an adult, so probably something bitter like coffee. Together with Miwa, both gathered a bunch of necessary ingredients, then brought them to the cooking class at the academy. Somehow, when seeing Miwa, the guard allowed both into the school without even bothering to ask for an opinion. While making cakes, the girl wondered why he was so good at cooking. You always say you're untalented, but I see you're quite good at kitchen work. He waved his hand saying, it only looks like that, but I also struggled. It's not like what you think. As known, the male lead was always under pressure under his mother's giant shadow, so he chose the way to avoid her. Once, when making breakfast as usual, his mother suddenly came and directly took the fried bread and ate it, then praised it as very delicious, because he really wanted to see her smile again. Whenever free, he practiced cooking. Unlucky thing was, the taste of the dishes was extremely bad while she was busy. There was once a time you hated everything in the world until his mother got sick. When she said, I want to eat a dish you cook, he went to ask for the hospital's permission and started learning cooking at home. Despite many difficulties, the male lead still worked hard to complete the flan when tasting the food made by her son. The mother couldn't help but be moved and made you cook for her more. So during the remaining time, he continuously cooked for her, and also thanks to that, his cooking skills became better day by day like a miracle. You thought the two of them were the same? Because earlier when choosing ingredients, you also looked very happy. My WA stubbornly waved her hands, saying it wasn't as he thought, then finished the decoration. While cleaning, you suddenly recalled the incident at the cafe earlier. You'd always blame yourself for being superficial in competition, but you still want your father's praise. Wanting to stand alongside your two older sisters because you really love them, right? Striving for those reasons? What's superficial about that? Maybe Miwa tries not for herself or the ambition to reach the peak, but you still want to make someone happy and want to be recognized by the people you love. And I must admit, the product you made looks very sweet. Looking at those sweets, Miwa suddenly realized she could strive for others, but why did that short guy dare to creep into my mind? A while later, the girl was speechless, not expecting he could fall asleep right on the table, thinking about what you had done for her. The youngest sister couldn't restrain herself and wanted to touch his head lightly, but didn't have enough courage. So Miwa used the remaining snacks to create you jelly. While the brother was still sleeping soundly, the youngest sister secretly placed a kiss on it to show her affection. When home, the male lead didn't expect those two to stay up late waiting for him to scold him. However, when Miwa reached out to defend him, those two were silent and didn't dare to speak. Next, she took out the sweets and gave them to both then. Apologize for being harsh. Why, you added his voice, saying this was handmade goods, according to each person's own taste. So no shop sells it. I only helped with some trivial things, while Miwa did it all from start to finish. The two sisters embarrassedly praised her for really understanding them, then brought them to the living room to enjoy. Suddenly, those two started to compete with each other to see whose cake had more heart put in. It's truly so idle. But when the little one came to give the cake to you, both glared at them. Both commented it looked very like you, but the bangs looked like they were balding. Suddenly Miwa remembered the kiss from earlier and flew into a rage, shouting, "Stop scrutinizing and eat quickly, please." On the day of the third title match, Miwa was present with a completely different demeanor. Episode 12, when knowing the three would cheer for her via livestream. The youngest sister playfully nodded, saying the title to her now wasn't important anymore, making the two older sisters flustered. After all, what goal did you compete for? At that time, Miwa only smiled slightly and replied secret, then entered the competition venue. On the way, Yu's image and everyone else's kept lingering in her mind, making her think a lot. If I win, you will surely congratulate me. Looking at the photo taken together the other day, Miwa told herself she would win to bring joy to everyone. While sitting waiting, some reporters bluntly criticized Miwa's poor strength after the two previous losses. Sakura only needed one more. Win and the title would belong to her. So when witnessing Miwa appear with a completely different calm demeanor than usual, the whole room had to be silent to wait for the moment she shone. Although leading by 2 matches, Sakura still had to be wary of the genius's aura. Her aura compared to mine is truly a world of difference. When young Sakura was a clumsy kid who broke everything she touched, so she was often avoided by friends. Since then, she gradually sank deep into an inferiority complex and didn't want to go out to play with anyone anymore. Once, when led by her father to visit her grandparents, Sakura spent most of the time drawing. The grandfather saw and came over to praise the giraffe as very beautiful, not knowing his granddaughter was drawing a cat. The old man was afraid the little girl would be hurt, so he brought the board out and invited Sakura to play shogi. When knowing the pawn is the weakest piece on the board, she bluntly threw it away without any regret. The grandfather calmly explained, although weak, it always moves forward and never avoids. A tiny weak piece but always diligently moving up, because after reaching the opponent's territory, the pawn will be promoted to an extremely strong piece. Think less, grandfather, lest you be evaluated by the girl. It's miserable. Though, not fully understanding, Sakura started learning to play shogi. After many months of tinkering, girl defeated her grandfather to the point he couldn't raise his head. Since then, Sakura started to participate in the shogi tournament for children. Just like the pawn, just moving up bit by bit and then reaching the goal. However, that proud passion was quickly extinguished at the tournament that year. For the first time facing a genius, Sakura was completely destroyed by the opponent without taking much time. After being crushed, she only knew the opponent was the youngest child of a genius family. Both were the same age and also girls. So why was there such a big difference? And that was also the first time Sakura felt her own efforts weren't rewarded. Once when arriving at the shogi center, she accidentally let the older one see her bad test scores. Both laughed and mocked that the kid also had a little talent when playing shogi. But studying poorly like this, no matter how hard you try, it's useless. As soon as Sakura was about to give up, Miwa suddenly sat right beside, saying those two were already amateurish, but liked to act tough. If you have time for so much gossip, why not try to memorize some of the matches I played, making the two older sisters silent. After scolding those two, Miwa turned to blame. Why are you sitting there suffering? Until recognizing the girl was shed tears, the little one hurriedly comforted her to avoid being misunderstood by everyone. At that moment, Sakura felt herself so humiliated, having lost just one important match and already being pitied by her, as if she didn't even consider me a rival in panic. Miwa praised Sakura for knowing how to use the pawn piece excellently, just as her grandfather had said. Before I only saw you using the pawn that well. Not everyone can play shogi like that, so just be confident. As if being given more motivation, Sakura stood up stoutly, saying, now I'm just a small pawn, but later I'll shine brilliantly for. Sure, so from now on, I'll be your rival, making Miwa very confused. Before, she had never once looked back at the person following behind. But now Sakura felt extremely happy knowing Miwa had agreed to look towards her. Entering the third match full of tension, everyone held their breath watching the two girls trading blow for blow. But after only a few moves, the match situation began to tilt entirely towards Miwa. Sakura was not resigned and tried to fight back fiercely like a resilient pawn. However, when seeing Miwa lick her lips, everyone immediately realized the match was decided. With only one superior move, Sakura had to bitingly accept defeat and helplessness. In the fourth match, Miwa, once again, won to bring the series back to the starting point. Before the final match took place, the two older sisters showed regret because they were forbidden by the little one to watch. Knowing both were still worried, you went out and said, she will be fine. I'll cheer for her instead of everyone, but ended up being scolded for dressing too flamboyantly. Meanwhile, Miwa told herself she would put her whole heart into this match. I must win at any cost. At the gym, Nico suddenly became more warlike than usual, making the whole team bewildered. When seeing Miwa's efforts, she spurred herself to try not to be left behind. In the kitchen, you do too, being engrossed in watching the live stream, accidentally put his hand on a hot pan. Although not too outstanding, Kazuki still diligently practiced to develop her full talent. After the brain-racking match, Miwa successfully defended her title with a spectacular comeback, making many reporters crazy. Even so, she was still confusedly looking for something. When seeing you waving outside, Miwa didn't hesitate to cross the crowd to get to him. Thought he would happily congratulate. Unexpectedly, he burst into tears like a child, making the younger sister confused. Why is he the person here? I didn't want him to cry. After calming down, you squeezed his hand, congratulating you for defending the title with all joy. When seeing that happy expression, Miwa couldn't help but say, "This is the face I want to see most." She slowly put her hand on his cheek and gently gave a sweet kiss, as she had done with the yew jelly. The two older sisters just arrived and had to witness this scene and were so shocked that they stood still. Only when you spoke up did Miwa realize her shameful act. Suddenly remembered the jelly incident, and then unconsciously followed, truly so foolish. Luckily, a foreign couple passed by to congratulate, so she temporarily escaped. Thanks to the sister's reminder, Miwa suddenly remembered herself having studied abroad for half a year. Immediately, the girl used that as an excuse, saying kissing the forehead is a form of greeting abroad. Earlier, I was just grateful for you's support. Don't tell me you three feel embarrassed just because of a kiss on the forehead. You naively thought it was just a social kiss, so he didn't have much opinion. Setting aside that, both repeatedly praised Miwa for being so good. Just one match from failure, and still able to reverse the situation. Truly, my sister. My moment, Miwa had the feeling she was on the same level as those two. Enjoy. The younger sister ran to kiss the two older sisters once each, then laughed with delight like a bumper harvest. Although still a bit shy. Finally, the two still obediently stood for you to take a photo as a souvenir. On the other side, Skora once again came in second, but this time she no longer felt uncomfortable. Because at least Miwa finally agreed to look towards her, you as a most vivid proof. Even if a small pawn, it will shine one day. I surely won't give up because of such a loss. And every day at 7 a.m., the second sister will go to the dojo to break some tiles. The youngest sister will sit in the living room playing shogi, while you will be in the kitchen mixing a smoothie for the eldest sister to drink. Kazuki bluntly criticized the taste of this thing as too bad, then forced the little guy to try. But for fear it would be counted as an indirect kiss, she snatched it back, then gulped it down. When you came to give a towel, Nico curiously asked, "Did you just change the fabric softener?" The young man accidentally replied, "So cute, so fragrant," making the girl blush. Just for a cent, and you complimented wrong, truly hopeless. As soon as Miwa ran out of snacks, you immediately brought supplies, but she was in the middle of a game, so she couldn't eat right away. Unexpectedly, he sat down and fed her directly as if she had no hands. After every noisy morning, everyone gathers around the dinner table, both having meals and chatting. Although knowing mother wanted him to have a happy family, you wasn't sure if this was what she wanted to say. Today, due to being too busy, he almost forgot to wish them to school. Thought the three sisters had already left, but turned out they were still waiting for him outside. All three criticized the short guy for almost forgetting that much, then smiled. "See you later," making you feel extremely happy. Maybe this is the happiness mother talked about? A few days later, the three sisters were surprised once when you brought Sakura home to sleep over. Aston found out the little one's goal here was to find the secret creating Miwa's strength, making the whole family unable to sit still.